Obtained by this programme show Britain's supermarkets are in the middle of an expansion drive on a scale never seen before. A new supermarket or extension opens nearly every day. Whilst other retailers have hit hard times during the recession, the big supermarkets have held strong and are actually benefiting from the downturn, snapping up empty shops on Britain's high streets. Our business correspondent Siobhan Kennedy has travelled the country to see this expansion at first hand.
Violent scenes on the streets in Bristol. But these aren't riots over government cuts or student protests. This anger was sparked by something a lot more simple: the opening of a new Tesco store. There might have been problems in Bristol, but in most places the love affair between the British people and supermarkets continues. While most retailers have suffered during the recession, supermarkets have posted bumper profits. In fact, Channel 4 News has discovered that the downturn has provided supermarkets with an even greater opportunity to expand, and they're taking full advantage.
We have never seen this rate of expansion before. It's absolutely colossal.
This is Dundee. Locals call it Trolley City. It has more supermarket space per person than anywhere else in Britain. With 25 supermarkets here already, you'd think there wasn't room for any more. Not so. This building used to be an industrial hotbed employing some 8,000 people from the local community. But now the building is derelict and the site has become the battleground for one of Britain's most bitter supermarket store wars. 2 years ago, Dundee City Council gave Asda planning permission to turn this former NCR factory into yet another 24-hour superstore. Local people were delighted.
Oh yeah, that was excellent news for the area. This community is, just a few years ago, was designated as the most deprived area in Dundee. So we are desperate for jobs to come in here, any kind of jobs, but particularly 500 that's going to be recruited here.
But not everyone was so pleased. Just half a mile away is a huge Tesco superstore. Tesco argued the new Asda was against the council's local plan for the area, and it took the council to court. Tesco lost, but it appealed. It lost that too, but it still hasn't given up. Now it's taking the case all the way to the UK Supreme Court in London. The sting in the tail is that it's the residents of Dundee, in part, who are having to foot the bill for this latest store war.
Public purse has to put that money up, and I think most members of the public would be unaware of that their money is being spent appealing against supermarket giants who are making billions of pounds profits per year.
So far, the case has cost Dundee Council, or the taxpayer, at least £150,000, at a time when budgets are being squeezed and they can least afford it. And as cash-strapped councils are being forced to dig deep, Channel 4 News understands that Tesco will make a profit of more than £2 million in Dundee, as while the court case drags on, no work can start on the Asda store.
We look on Tesco as a big bully with no concern for the community. All they're concerned about is the money dropping into their tills. They're holding this whole part of Dundee to ransom.
The planning process is supposed to provide a fair, level playing field for everybody, which means that there's a proper process that has to be followed. And we believe that in the case in Dundee, the process hasn't been followed, which is what we're challenging. But we would never simply object to a competitor opening a store near our existing stores. That's competition.
How does Tesco feel that the taxpayer is having to foot this bill at a time when it can least afford it?
Well, this is a court procedure, so actually at the end of the procedure the court will decide who to award costs to, and actually if we end up being wrong, we will pay.
Dundee is one of 9 court battles between supermarkets and local authorities up and down the country in the last 12 months. And that could increase, because for the first time all the major supermarkets are expanding. New figures obtained by Channel 4 News show that in the next 3 years there'll be 20% more supermarket space in Britain, and that's just counting the big 4: Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Asda and Morrisons. That's equivalent to 350 football pitches of extra supermarket space.
It's the biggest opening programme in retail history. And what makes it a particular challenge for the industry is that there is no weak players anymore. The big four command the lion's share of the market, and really for the first time they're banging heads against each other in a way that we've not seen.
It's not just big supermarkets. The recession means convenience stores are popping up everywhere. Former Woolworths, pubs, DIY stores and car showrooms are being reborn as convenience stores, often without the need for planning permission.
Clearly these stores bring footfall, and that's good news to their neighbours, particularly if the alternative is an empty shop sitting next to you.
But in some areas, the lack of consultation with the community is giving rise to local rancour. In Bristol last month, that turned to violence. What started as a protest against a new Tesco Express turned ugly after a mob of angry protesters clashed with nearly 200 riot police.
We mustn't forget this is about Tesco's. Tesco's need to leave.
Clearly there were people in Bristol who were unhappy about the way they felt the decision had been made. What we see is that these stores are very well supported by customers once they open, because they meet a real need with our busy lifestyles.
Tesco and the other major supermarkets are also behind ambitious regeneration schemes in some of Britain's most deprived communities, providing much needed investment. But as many other construction projects have been put on hold during the downturn, supermarkets, who are still developing, find themselves in a powerful position. This is Linwood, just outside Glasgow. The town has been in decline since the local car factory closed in 1981. 4 years ago, Tesco bought the town's shopping centre and agreed to regenerate it. Its plans included a new health centre, police station, library and community centre alongside its new superstore. The health centre was going to cost Tesco £6 million. But last summer, 3 years after it signed the planning agreement, it submitted a new one. Only this plan had no new health centre, just a donation of £500,000 to upgrade the existing facilities. It was a tweak that cut £5.5 million from its original offer. The council accepted, but some local people are unhappy.
They've gone through this consultation exercise with the community where they were promised this All Singing All Dancing Health Centre with the associated retail units, new Tweedy Hall, new library, and some of that's been done, to be fair. But the health board will not be getting the new surgery, and that is a disappointment, because that was one of the promises that Tesco made.
You're making big profits, record profits just now. So how can you say that building the health centre is not economically viable?
But I think the point is that we are still making the investment in their community. There's lots of developments across the UK that have stalled, that are not going ahead at all. We are still making the investment. These people need jobs. It's going to bring hundreds of jobs for local people. So it actually is going to mobilise their local economy. We've also just done a new community consultation on our second application. And actually what we found is that the community are very supportive.
For many parts of the north of England and other parts of the United Kingdom, there is a kind of planning of desperation, where to get any development at all is seen to be so positive that you're willing basically to sign anything to get that development. You know, that is a problem that we need to deal with as well, in terms of creating equal opportunity across the nation.
Before the election, David Cameron championed local initiatives like this People's Supermarket in London. But his government has been clear the priority is now economic growth. The default answer to development should always be yes. So with the planning system moving in their favour, and with the high street still feeling the pain of the recession, in the future, supermarket expansion looks set to continue.
Now back to Krishna.